What's going on, guys? Zach Perna here, and this is actually episode 2 of the Zach Perna podcast. So if you are keen and you want to hear more about business, content creation, marketing, online coaching, everything entrepreneur version of Zach that I do on the side, make sure you go and subscribe to that channel below so you don't miss a video. I am really excited for this journey ahead, and I need you guys to join me if you want to level up your life in business and everything. I'm excited to help you out. So before we get into it, please hit that subscribe button and then we'll get into the video. So like I said, by the end of this video, you'll have a lot of the skills, or at least the outline of the skills that if you master these, I believe you can literally do anything. It helped me, hit my first $1 million. I think that was huge for me as a turning point, as a person, as a businessman, because I never thought I was ever capable of anything like that. And especially doing it and then doing it again and continue to do so, it was like, this is surreal, this is crazy. And I noticed a big shift in my mentality because I was not that way inclined from the beginning. From the beginning, and I can tell you about how I started, I was nervous, I wasn't confident, I was scared, I was fearful of the world, and I wasn't ambitious. And then took that and turned it to like the polar opposite. We're like excited instead of scared, confident instead of fearful, ambitious instead of terrified of goal setting. Like seeing the two changes, to me, I was like, this is crazy, because it was like it was a different person. And I want to talk about that today. And the biggest things that I noticed, the biggest things that helped me, and the advice I would give you if you were thinking, well, I want to do well, I'm not confident in my skill sets, I'm not confident, I don't know what to do, and I need direction, I don't know where to go. That's what this video is for. So let's dive in with tip number 1. Tip number 1 is switching your mindset from negative to positive. So I spoke a bit about when I was younger and kind of the person I was when I was like 18, 19 years old. For context, I worked at a chemist. I was doing that full time in between, like about to go to uni. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I just lived for the gym. The gym was like my personality. It was like literally my safe space. Especially when I went to uni, the gym was my safe space. I just wanted to be invisible at uni because it felt like it wasn't me. I was living some other person's life. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Everyone else knew what they wanted to do, and I was like terrified. It made me really nervous, and they'd talk about the future, I get anxious. All I did was just go through the motions and just go to gym. The gym was like the place where I could chill and feel like I belonged somewhere, you know? So I did that for 3 years straight, and I just kind of like I tried to do the social stuff. So it's when I just started getting into it. You wouldn't know it, but I struggled a lot mentally, like a bit with anxiety. I often had panic attacks if I let myself go down a certain path of thinking, like I just freak myself out. And instead of confronting anything or trying to deal with it, I couldn't deal with it. I just like put my head in the sand a bit and I just ignored it. And I didn't want to talk about it. So if someone brought up something like, hey, let's have a conversation about the future, I'd be like, nope, like don't want to talk about that, because I knew it would just freak the shit out of me. So my mindset at this time, I had no money to my name either. Like I'm not going to say we were broke. My family had money, but I was like dead broke. And I knew that no one's just going to save me in this stuff, right? So my mindset at this time was, I always went to what if it failed? That's what I always went to, is like, okay, well, what if it fails? And I speak to a lot of people like this now. They automatically go to, they're just warriors, and they think, okay, but what if it fails? What if people judge me? What if they think this? What if this happens? What if the negative? And there's always a million negatives that can happen. So there's no rationalizing with these people, because they, like me, I just would go to the next negative thing that would happen, that could happen. And the problem with that is that way of thinking attracts negativity, because if you're focusing on the negatives, if you go and do something, you're likely going to be met with a negative outcome, and you're going to go, see, this is what I thought was going to happen. Reinforces a belief, and then you become more negative. And thankfully, I don't know how this happened. It was some kind of Christmas miracle, but I succeeded in something. It was social media. I was posting a little bit, and against my better judgment, because I thought no one's going to like this, you're going to get all this hate. And I started pushing because I knew that it was my passion. And then it started to work out a little bit, and I just thought, you know what, Zach, you just got lucky. Like you just got lucky with that. It wasn't really based on what you did. And I thought that way for a long time, until I literally probably had made maybe a couple $100,000 from the business and coaching and things like that, where I thought, okay, maybe there's something more to this than luck. Like that, it took that long to actually get to that point. And I slowly transitioned from the mindset of what if it fails, I slowly transitioned to what if it works. My mum and my brother always have this positive, like this optimism, when they go, what if it works? And they imagine this thing working really, really well. And I never did that. I was never like that. It didn't come naturally. I always imagined disaster and called it realism. I was like, no, I'm a realist. Really, I was just like negative as hell. So, and now I can see that. So if I could go back, I would think, switch the mindset and don't dwell on what if it fails. Because if you do that, it will probably fail unless you were lucky. And change it to what if it works. So just think, okay, but what if it works? And imagine what that looks like. Visualization is huge. I know Arnie visualized, he said he visualized everything. He goes, when I'm training my biceps, I pretend like it's a mountain. And I'm like, all right, weirdo. But like, worked for him. And Tony Robbins as well. If you know Tony Robbins, like the speaker, he said that when you visualize, your brain can't tell between real and imaginary. So like, apparently, if you visualize it so well, your brain doesn't know if it's like happened before and therefore it's like a memory or it's like something you've made up. So I think there's a bit of truth to that. I think because if you really visualize something like with specificity and detail, you feel more capable and I feel excited. Whereas before I would have felt scared. So I think making the distinction between you have the choice, like right now, what mentality to have, what mindset to have, and knowing that it's your choice, I think is really empowering because you can think, okay, am I just playing the victim here and wanting it to go bad and relying on it going bad? Or am I going to give myself a chance to make it work? Tip number 2 is to create value-adding content on social media because people need to like you to a degree. Some people need to like you and you have to be good at it, I think. This is what I've learned from my experience, obviously through the lens of social media and creating a personal brand for yourself, is if you can get good at creating content and give a lot of value out to people, you will have it so much easier than the next person who doesn't know that, because the person who doesn't know that puts it off for a long, long time. Whereas if you can work on that skill like today and now, it'll pay dividends in the long run. So like it took me probably a year to kind of get in my groove of filming and social media and all of that. And I'm so glad I did that year when I did it instead of having to do it like now, right? So I think it's really important for you guys watching this. If you're thinking about kind of starting on social media, creating content, making a personal brand for yourself, if that has been on your mind, just do it. Like literally just do it, because otherwise you'll put it off for so long and you'll wish that you had done it today when you're watching this video. So just start. Like I tell all my students in the blueprint, I'm like, just start and then put the judgment aside for a minute, because this is a skill that we have to get good at. We don't need to get good at it today. We just need to start today. So the whole journey for me was, I was consistent from the beginning, and I based my socials on giving other people help and adding value to others and documenting myself. I think that you can't lose if you do that, because if you add value to other people's lives, it's going to be, people are going to really appreciate it and they're going to like you so much more because you're helping them. And if you can also share parts of yourself and your journey and who you are, they're going to connect with you, because people like to connect with other people, as opposed to you guys just trying to copy someone else and try and do a formula that someone else has done that might not work for you. So I think value adding content is the way to go, and getting good at the skill of content creation will really help on your path to make $1 million. The third tip that helped me was practicing selling and getting good at selling. And this is something that I wish I did earlier, because I think instead of making like a few million, I could have made about 5 or 10 million if I had done this a lot earlier. And it was understanding the sales game and how important sales is. And it's not just this like greedy, negative thing. Sales is psychology, it's persuasion, and it's exchange of value. And knowing how sales works and getting really into it, I think is huge. So like I avoided this for a long time until I like had to do it. And then by that point, when I had to do it, I was like, all right, I may as well try to get good at the thing. And that decision of, okay, let's try to get good at sales was pivotal for me, because I know a lot of salespeople, and if you're good at sales, you won't have a problem with money. Like if you're in this position now where you're thinking, well, I don't know what to do with my life, I don't know what skills to acquire, I would literally say just get good at sales or marketing, but mainly sales, because not many people are. A lot of salespeople out there, but there's not a lot of good ones. I can tell you that from a hiring perspective. If you can get good at the skill of selling, you will be prized. Like it will be such a good asset. So I always think sales is something that I wish I did a lot earlier in my journey, but still pivotal nonetheless. Number 4, this is, you need to get help sometimes. And there's no shame in getting help. I think in my first probably few years of business, I didn't want help because I thought I had to do everything myself. And I thought, well, no one knows it better than me, or no one can do it better than me, so I need to do this thing. And that kind of limiting belief that I have to do everything myself and no one else can do it, it kept me stuck a little bit more. And I think it stopped me from like accelerating as fast as I could have. Because if I could go back now, I would delegate a lot more. I would outsource a lot more. I would plan the systems a lot more, as opposed to thinking it's just about me doing all the work, right? And like thinking that I have to do the whole thing because that would be cool. My ego would love it. So I think get help where you need it, and also identify what you want to know. Like identify what you want to learn and where you want to be and who's done it, and help them. That's like my whole business for online coaches is like, if you want to do online coaching, I've done it and I've made $1 million or more. I can help you do that. If you want to start, I can just tell you what saved me. Like my brother does one for clothing brands because we like wasted a couple of $100,000 on Slouch when we first started Slouch. That's a story for another podcast. And he's like, I wish we had something like this for people who are starting brands. And I'm like, of course. So you need to get help when just be open to it at least, right? Like be open to help, because if you're not, you'll be stuck for a long time for no reason. Like it's unnecessary. Find someone who's done what you want to do and model them, like literally model their behavior, what they did, or ask them. And chances are they've probably got something that they could sell you that is going to get you there faster. Number 5 is do what excites you. I think it's spoken about, but kind of not in the right formula. Like people say, do what you love and you'll never work a day. It's not about never working a day in your life. It's about being able to show up every single day and outwork the hell out of everyone else because it doesn't feel like work. That's what I think doing what you love is really important. And if you can do what you love and you can find an overlap between like the work that you find enjoyable that like lights you up, you'll be a beast, because you can just continue to do the stuff that you love to do that also gets your business such a great result, like it's a driving force. It's like, for me, that was always the YouTube videos and filming and content, because no one else could really do that like I did it. I didn't need to be the one doing admin or emails or other parts that would like just take my hours out or drain my energy. So it's knowing what you're good at and knowing what you love and trying to find like a combination of the two, like an overlap, I think is awesome, of knowing that kind of power. So whatever you're interested in, whatever you think, this is my thing, like I love this, and when it doesn't feel like work, that most likely is going to be what you can excel at, because you doing that for hours compared to the guy who's doing it based off motivation, you'll always win, even if he's better than you. But because you love to do it, you'll outwork them, you'll do it better. You'll take more care, like you'll continue to show up every day, and you'll put in this like huge amount of time, this absurd amount of time that no one else can, because it will feel like, well, how do you do that? Like people used to say to me, like, how do you stay consistent? Even just with like eating healthy, they'd be like, I don't understand how you stay consistent. That's crazy. And I didn't know what to tell them. I was like, I don't need to be motivated. I'm not motivated at all. They're like, yeah, you are, you eat so well. I'm like, it's nothing to do with motivation. I just eat well. And they were like, that's crazy. How do you do it? It's like, it's so easy for you. And I'm thinking, yeah, it is, because I like it. And that's the same thing in business. It's like, if you can find the things, the skills that you like, it'll be so much easier for you to show up every day for 3 years. And what happens when you show up every day for 3 years is you get results that no one else can get because they've already given up a year ago. So it kind of brings me into my 6th point, which is work hard and smart. So this is not about outworking the next person. It's about doing enough for you and not wasting it on the small trivial tasks. So I kind of touched on earlier that like I never outsourced, I never delegated, I never did any of this stuff. And it was such a personal downfall because I stopped myself from really accelerating in my business and what I was good at. I didn't work smart. I just kind of worked hard, and I thought that was it. As long as I'm working hard and I'm busy and I'm maxed out, that's all I can do. And it's wrong. So a lot of people I speak to as well, they feel so busy and they give me excuses on like, oh no, but I'm just so busy, as if that's like a good thing. And I'm like, well, if you're not getting to where you need to be because you can't do the things to get there because you're busy, that's actually really bad. Like you don't want to be busy. That's not good. And I think we see it, like society sees busyness as productivity, as if they're like one and the same. And they're not. I've seen this for a long time because I've worked for myself for a long time. And I know what it feels like to be busy and occupied and entirely unproductive. And it feels terrible because I'm like, this is shit. It's like the worst of both worlds, as opposed to being productive and not necessarily busy because you're doing the efficient things. You're not wasting time on stuff that doesn't matter. So I think I had a really good gauge of this after working for myself for years. I had a decent gauge of what work is actually important, what work is going to move the needle. Is me writing a random plan right now for someone going to move the needle, or is me writing a content strategy going to move the needle? Probably the content strategy. Whatever the focus was, I became quite good at discerning which was important work and productive work as opposed to what's just filling time and keeping busy. And I think if you're working a job and trying to do a side hustle, you got to get really good at that, because there's no time for you to do like the distracting work. There's just, you have to be all on efficiency and productivity and getting the work that is the best for you to move the needle. So working hard, sure, there's a lot of hours in it, But working smart and knowing the difference between good, efficient work and like what needs to be done, as opposed to work that's just there, that's always going to be there, that maybe it could be the thing to do later, but it's not necessarily that important now, is huge. And when I started, I didn't really know the difference. And it took me, like I said, a few years of doing so. And I think maybe that's just the case, but I would love you guys to kind of test it out and ask yourself, out of like, let's say you have a goal with business, whatever, a side hustle or hobby, and you think, okay, here are the things that I have to do, and I could start putting them in my calendar today and doing those things. There's probably like 80% of them that you don't need to do now. You don't need to do it today. You could do it tomorrow or next week, and it wouldn't really make a difference. Do you have to get them done at all? Maybe not. But it might not be today's thing. And when you get really good at knowing, what do I need to do? Okay, but what do I need to do next or right now? Like what's actually important and what can I do later, or what can I outsource, or what can I not do at all? That's when you get really, really good at managing your time, because you can focus on what's important and then say no to a lot of things that are going to distract you. Now, my final point is patience, and having patience to do this for a long time and get good at skills. I think people focus on the wrong thing. People focus on, well, how much time do I have to put in? Like they measure it on like a time thing. How much time do I have to post on socials before I launch my business? How much time does it take to work? Most businesses fail in the first year. I got to get past a year. It's always these like time measured approaches, as opposed to like a system measured approach or an outcome measured approach of going, well, what skill do I need to be at to succeed? Like, so with like content creation, like how good do you have to be for that to be considered a success? And so aim towards that and be patient in getting there, because like it might take you a couple years, it might take you 3 years, but if you identify the skills you want to get good at and think, okay, well, what does done look like? Like what does good look like at those skills, like say content creation or sales or whatever it is you want to do, and then go like, what does that look like when it's done? And then let's just focus on that. What do I need to do next to get there? Don't worry about the time, because like just have patience. That's one thing I actually did well. Like out of all these things, I think one thing that I did well was having the patience to not freak out about a deadline or not rush myself into thinking the time is only now, otherwise it's over. Is just do the thing, put stuff out there and try and get better, and the time is going to go by either way. So just be patient and just stick with it. Follow your gut on those things. I think they are all the biggest kind of lessons and reflections on skills and kind of thoughts that help me a lot. And I think instead of talking about the specifics on what I did and how it worked, I think it would be more helpful now to talk about those things of like the foundational stuff that is going to work that I wish I did a bit better maybe, and the things that I kind of did okay at, and kind of dissecting how a bit later on in a video. I think this makes a bit more sense to me. So if you got any good takeaways, drop them in a comment below or share this on your story. Let me know. Really keen to see you guys' feedback, and I'm just keen to create more. So make sure you subscribe and support, show all the love, and I'll see you in the next episode.